eventually a light shows up for me. And a lot of people are starting to encounter this too. And I follow that light. But it takes a while. If you do the breath work beforehand, it'll put your body into the trance state, release DMT from your pineal gland that puts you're hacking the dream state is what you're doing. You're going into the dream state. So you're releasing the endorphins and things in your body that's making you release things, that's making you feel good, but it's making you relax and stuff as well. So
Mm-hmm.
to start off your meditation with a few minutes of breath work to go ahead and get the body relaxed and quiet the mind before you're trying to just peer through whatever it is you're trying to get through. Even
Yeah.
when you think you're already healed, and you think you've already over something, you've already let something go, and then you get a burst of energy and bliss that brings you to tears, because you're able to release stuff that you didn't even know that you were holding on to.
Mm-hmm.
That's what we're talking about.
Welcome to your awakening journey. Today's destinations include higher consciousness and actualized potential. If all ascenders could now please be seated in a comfortable meditative posture, we're about to ascend. You are now arriving at your host, Bryan Henry.
What is up, Ascenders? You're now listening to the Awaken Podcast, a show in which we have expansion and invoking conversation to assist you and the planetary collective consciousness in ascending to higher expressions of awareness, purpose, and potential. My name is Bryan Henry. I'm the founder of Together We Ascend and the Ascend Academy over at togetherweascend.com, and your host of the show. If this is your first time joining us, I want to welcome you to the ascending journey. You will never know a true sense of liberation, fulfillment, and empowerment until you stop living for the acceptance of others, held back by the fear of judgment, to begin fully owning your truth. My guest in this episode of the Awaken Podcast is one that can attest to this, and he's leading by example. TruthSeekah is saying yes to his truth, and he's putting it out there in all kinds of different forms. He's creating music embedded with codes. He's the host of a amazing spirituality podcast of his own, the TruthSeekah Podcast. And his experience, as well as mine, can attest to the sort of impact, the ripple effect that it can have when we begin saying yes to and fully embody our truth. One of the things he said in this episode that stood out to me was, I'm just being the person that I needed. You've gone through trials and tribulations, and there are people that are faced with similar challenges. Knowing this, how can we not share all that we have to share? So this is equally about the sort of impact and influence that this can have when we become a fuller expression of our authentic selves, as well as the type of experience we get to endure when we allow for this. So we're here to have this conversation to invite you into a fuller expression of you. And so not only will I think this awaken the inspiration in you to do just that, we also get into some practical tools and techniques that TruthSeekah has used to access the perfect self within. The Akashic records, the insight of spirit, whatever you want to call it, there's a knowing in you. There's a version of you that is fully embodying your highest and your most authentic. And there's a means by which we can access this. There's practical strategies that we can use to do so. And in this episode, TruthSeekah shares with you some of the ones that he has experience with, including breathwork, as well as something he calls prophesigning. So, if you're feeling compelled to invoke these blissful and insightful encounters with spirits, to access the perfect self within, to come out of it with greater clarity of purpose and vision, so that you can begin saying yes to and fully owning your truth. Stick with us for this episode of the Awaken podcast. But before we jump into that, one thing that I believe will also support you, if you've heard this call to be a fuller expression of your divine purpose and your gifts, the Ascend Academy is uniting and activating lightworkers. We're coming together in our united purpose. We're supporting one another. And we're growing into greater expressions of who we are and why we're here. If you feel a sense of resonance with this invitation, I invite you to go check out the platform and all that we got going on at academy.togetherweascend.com. But for now, let's hear from the man himself. He's seeking out his truth. He's saying yes to his. And he's here to support you in doing the same. This is my conversation with TruthSeekah. And we are live.
What up?
We're live with my boy, Derek, aka TruthSeekah. He's a visionary. He's a mystic. He's a hip-hop artist. My man, is there anything that you don't do?
No, do it all. Too much.
He's a
probably.
podcaster.
Too much.
Actually, on that note, I think that's a good jumping start point. One of the things that I have a whole lot of respect for you for is how much you're doing. You put out a ton of content in all forms, and you're making things happen. So talk to me about that, but of course, give us a little bit of introduction and let us know who you are, what you got going on, and then lead into all the things that you've been bringing to us.
Yeah, I know, right? Because so many times we put that together, who we are is what we do. And we're known by our roles or our titles or our specialties or our ailments, even for some people, their disabilities. So, it's interesting to separate that we are not what we do. And it's easy to get caught up in that, right? Especially when we do so much and all these titles. And I do all those and I am those, but it's not who I am, right? So I think that's beautiful. So I think that being reminded of that, that I do all of these things, but I am a human being and I need to rest in that. And so that's my message for everyone too, to consciously create, and but also walk in your spiritual supernatural rest. That's my message. So like you said, I do spiritual esoteric hip hop, amazing podcast. I'm an author of a book, launching courses, guided meditations, retreats, spiritual retreats, and spirit journeys, man. A little bit of everything. School of the Mystics, online sessions, like any and everything I bring to the table. And it's all about healing. It's all about going deeper into the spirit, exploring, getting freedom, and through all of those different avenues. If there's a new avenue that I can express healing through, I'll probably find it and utilize it. So a little bit of everything.
Is that the way that you find yourself referring to the gift that you're bringing through, healing? Is that the term that
for sure
is the center of it all for you?
Yeah, for sure. Spiritual healing, self-acceptance, knowing yourself, being confident in who you are, being a little bit different, exploration, especially from coming from the religious background. Like it's hard to go through this awakening and come out of that type of structure where it's not like, what I'm saying, liberation or self-discovery is not promoted. Like you have to repeat a certain doctrine. And when you're different, you get outcasted and outed. So a big part of my community is people who are in the church or coming out of the church. So there's a huge part of my community there. So saying yes and being open and authentic is like one of the first steps of healing, and just embracing who you are, whatever it is, whatever you're into, whatever your, God is leading you to discover, through spirituality, through whatever it is that you're into, and being open with that. So that's my story, and so I just try to pay that forward to other people. And it's definitely about healing.
Yeah, and you're doing an incredible job leading by example, man. That authentic expression and that willingness to maybe even go against the grain at times. That
Yeah.
I always say that one of the greatest things that you can do for a person, if not the greatest thing that you can do for a person, is support them in being their authentic selves. And I think perhaps the best way we can go about doing that is, again, leading by example. We invite others into that authentic expression when they see that and they feel that from us. And I definitely feel that in you, man. You have a character to you, and it's not, you are by no means the type of person that is, it seems, that cares what other people really think about you and what you're about. You're gonna go out there and you're gonna speak your truth. You're gonna first seek your truth, and you're not gonna hold that back. Would you say that describes you?
Yeah, but it hasn't always been that way, and it isn't always that way. I'm human, and we want to be accepted, we want to be loved, and we want to fit in and belong. And so, that's just something you have to kind of daily remind yourself. And when you you're not really tested until you're tried. And so when you have those, and when everything's going in your favor and everything's going good, it's okay. But like once there's some type of resistance or gossip or family members or whatever it is that kind of step out against you, then it's like, okay, do you really believe this? And so, for me, it was just, living my truth, seeking it, and speaking it. At first, like I was laughed at and scoffed like so hard, ridiculed for everything that I did that was different, or being a forerunner or whatever. Now I'm praised and applauded and make a good living doing this thing that I was scoffed at. You know what I'm saying? I'm having a podcast and speaking about this stuff from my position, and speaking about plant medicines and journeys and healing and one-on-one sessions. And remember when I first got confident and stepping out to do one-on-one healing sessions with individuals and counseling and all that. I put myself out there and started charging for sessions. Like, if you wanted a session, this is what it would cost for an hour of my time. And we did a lot of stuff, breath work, guided meditation, a lot of things. And I remember some Christian friends were like inboxing me like, hey man, I see you starting to do sessions and you're charging for it now. Give me some more info on this. And they were just digging to like screenshot my conversation and then post it on all these different Christian forums and Facebook groups, laughing at me that I was charging for prayer. And for me being like finally stepping out and saying yes to this thing that I felt like God was calling me to, I pulled everything down. I was humiliated and, didn't own my truth, and so I quickly pulled it down. Like once the ridicule and people are like, hey, you charge to pray for people, all that kind of stuff. And like, it's hard. And there's seasons of that. And so that resistance is good though. Like we need it. It makes us like, it proves that what you really want. Do you really want this? Are you, willing to put up with the scoffers and the, people making memes about you and your best friends turning their back on you? And when you're dealing with religion and spirituality and philosophy and stuff like that, politics, today, the day of it, like, you're going to deal with that. You're going to have people, friends come and go, and opinions and schisms come and go and stuff. And so, but it's about finding out what you want to do and create yourself, make yourself. And there's tests that you got to go through. I don't set them up. We don't set them up. I think it's a universal type of mystery school training that we're all in. And we got to go through those tests, and you got to pass it with love and with honor and walking in your truth, figuring out what that is, and then owning it.
Yeah, and it's almost inevitable that those obstacles are gonna present themselves. And I love what you said. It's almost this this test to see how willing you are, how committed you are to that truth, and you
Yeah.
become a fuller embodiment of that truth through being willing to face that resistance.
Adversity. Yeah.
Yeah. So where did that all begin for you then? Where would you describe, I mean, I know it's difficult to kind of point to a beginning, but specifically to owning your truth, do you see, or can you feel into a time where you feel like this is where you really began to step into that, even through the resistance?
Yeah, because it's always been there. Like it's never been something that's been applauded. I guess at this point it is, and then you find your tribe and the people that resonate with your material that you put out and stuff, and then it's all fun and games. But early on, for sure, it was like a genesis of um, owning your truth or whatever. And I think for me was just the fact, and I still feel this way, the reason I had to talk about this stuff, because I wasn't the only one having these experiences. Um and there was a lot of friends of mine who we were close with doing things together in a church setting, right? We're from the Bible Belt. Like our spirituality was birthed in like what I'm saying, charismatic Christian circles, man, and like praying for hours and going into trances and all types of things that we were experiencing in the church and stuff. So we began to take that
Grew
a
up
little
in
bit
that, correct?
deeper. Yeah. Well, I wouldn't say grew up in it, but it was definitely early on, my early mid teens, like 16. I really got deep into it.
Mm-hmm.
But we began to go a lot deeper in our spirituality, and through like many different things. I say like some of the most controversial stuff early on were like contacting UFOs and contacting the angels and things like that under the open sky and through meditation, and we were having visitation
Oh, you're
that was
doing this with
amazing.
people.
Yeah.
So your
Well,
first
the majority of
experiences.
it was no, it was me by myself first,
Okay.
and then it was a thing that I got really good at and seeking after it and just knowing that it's a thing, and then like, hey, y'all come with me kind of thing, and then they go out and they have this life-changing experience under the
Huh.
stars. And so that was like a big thing for us early on that like
Yeah.
shook us. Like we can contact the angels and they'll show up and kind of say hello, the angels that are watching over us and stuff. And so we call them UFOs and the Elohim and things like that. But that was one. And then the next was going on our plant journeys, doing psilocybin mushrooms, and both of those things were beautiful and changed my life in a major way. But it's like, in the church culture in the Bible Belt, like there's nobody talking about that,
Mm-hmm.
especially from a Christian perspective. And even in those days, it wasn't even really big. You had to kind of dig to find articles and stuff on it. So for me to have those experiences with Christian brothers who were like, really good friends, but they wouldn't talk about it. Like I'm doing podcasts, I'm doing interviews, I'm writing about it, blogging about it, because it was so beautiful and so transformative that I didn't want to hide this from nobody. Because when I got born again and became a Christian, you couldn't shut me up telling people about Jesus, something that changed my life. And I was able to, touch love and experience love for the first time through these encounters with Christ. I tell everybody, and you couldn't shut me up. So my UFO experiences and the psilocybin were just as monumental, these life changing encounters. And so the other friends, they were like, "No, we can't talk about this. We'll get fired if our boss knows that we're summoning UFOs in an open field, or that we're going on plant ceremonies on the weekends doing illegal mushrooms. This kind of stuff. We'll get excommunicated. We definitely can't go to church talking about this, and they'll get fired. You know what I'm saying? But it was so beautiful to me, so transformative. There's no way that I can keep this to myself. So like I was the one, and they're all warning me, hey dude, when your boss finds out that you're gonna be in trouble, what about your wife's boss? So this awakening to like own your truth. Are you gonna talk about this, or are you gonna keep it hush hush? Something that has the ability to heal the world, both of them really. And I put it in my music. I was rapping about this stuff and found an audience there, and then doing podcasts about it, and all the while being laughed at, mocked, ridiculed, and then the church culture is like moving away, now marking me as an enemy, somebody
Mm-hmm.
who's telling you to go and do shamanic breathing in the forest and connect with plant teachers and
So they
stuff. You
knew
know what
what
I'm
was
saying?
going
So
on, the church community.
yeah, just because I was posting about it on social media,
Yeah,
like
you
doing
weren't
open
hiding it.
podcasts.
Yeah.
No, sun gazing and stargazing, like all of it, dude. And so that was like early on. Again, I say all that to say that the reason that I had to do it is because those guys wouldn't.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? So now I have to be louder because you guys aren't, owning up to this. You guys aren't telling anybody. You guys are acting like this is just between us and nothing happened because you're scared of who's going to find out or you're going to get in trouble. But if you have again, like something that has the ability to cure depression, to cure all types of addictions and everything, but you're going to keep it to yourself. They didn't keep the Jesus thing to themselves. They told everybody about that. But when it comes to, the plant medicines and,
Mm-hmm.
being visited by lights in the sky at night, like, that impartation and telepathic communication, now you're crazy. The Jesus thing was okay, but this stuff is too much. I embodied it. I was laughed at, excommunicated, because, I was a Christian minister at the time, traveling to churches and
Oh wow.
speaking to the youth and doing music. And then they're on my Facebook and I'm talking about Kundalini yoga and all this kind of stuff. And they think that, oh, that's demonic. So own your truth, man. You know what I'm saying? Or it ain't supposed to be easy. If it was easy, everyone would do it, but we make it look easy. And so us walking in our truth is going to move other people to envy, but a good envy that they act on it. They say, man, I want to be free like him. I want to be able to talk about it. Cause then I found that, man, I had Christian DJs over major Christian radio stations hit me up and I'm listening to your podcast and I can't talk about that stuff, dude, but I'm interested and I got a ceremony planned myself this weekend and like all these major Christian people, but they could not talk about it. They won't talk about it for fear of rejection and ridicule.
Yeah. It's crazy. So many people I connect with, and, there's a depth of awareness to them, so much knowledge to them. And, they look to me and they'll say exactly what you're describing.
Yeah.
It's great that you're talking about these things, right? It's amazing that you share this and you speak your truth. And then it's crazy how many of these people, once I pose the question, is this something that you feel like you want to be doing? So many of them say, yeah, like, just like you've experienced, I've experienced. It's that, how can I not share this feeling, right? If I've found so much liberation and empowerment in what I've grown to understand and believe, how can I not share that, knowing that it can support another in similar ways, or it has the potential to support another in similar ways? But like you said, I think a lot of people are being held back by fear of judgment, fear of rejection.
We're, the whole planet is going through an ascension process or a spiritual awakening, if you will, and people are waking up from all religions, all walks of life, all background. They're remembering who they are. A lot of people know this stuff deep down in their spirit, but they just don't have the words to describe it or know where to trace this stuff back in ancient text or whatever the case is. But I think like there's a lot of tools and a lot of programs and things that are coming out that are opening people up. Ancient aliens was a big one. 2012, the big shift that's happened. Conspiracy theories with COVID and stuff. A lot of people, start questioning your reality, questioning your leaders, into like that eventually leads to a spiritual awakening. Even if you start out in the political realm, it leads to working on yourself spiritually, because you find out eventually that you can't infiltrate that system and you can't change it by voting. You can't change it by trying to change others, but you can change it by changing yourself. And that leads to the spiritual awakening. So the climate is changing, and a lot of people, because we're open, other people are being open, and we're creating this safe space to talk about this stuff. And it's definitely working, and it's amazing to try to trace back how far the ripple goes. The fact that we said yes to this and we kept showing up and continue to do this, even when we don't feel like it, even when there's ridicule, even when we question ourselves, like we continue to show up and to see how much good and how much liberation that is being transferred to individuals who are going out, starting their own podcast and being open and honest, and they're influencing people. because we said yes and they heard our episode. Now they started their own, and they're influencing and setting people free because we said yes.
That
This is
ripple
how
effect.
powerful it is. It's happening for sure. And we know the more platform you get and more people you reach, it's bigger and bigger and bigger. For me, I love to sit in that and just think about it, man.
Mm.
Putting on events and meetings and things like that, and just looking around, and these people don't know each other from Adam. Like, they're all here because I invited them, because I facilitated this, and now they're going to come and they're going to get inspired, and then they're going to go out and inspire others. But to see that, how much impact that we have, it's amazing. Not just me, but all of us. But try to measure it.
Yeah. Acknowledging that, man, that's so key. It really fires you up when you can acknowledge yourself and give yourself credit for how influential the choices that you make are. And the one thing I'll also even throw into that is, whatever you think, whatever impact you think your words and your actions are having, it's tenfold. It's
know,
so
right?
much greater than that, because how many
Yeah.
people are coming across, we can't know, but how many people are coming across you and what you're saying and aren't reaching out or
Telling
not
you.
responding
Yeah,
to
I
it.
know, right?
Exactly, right?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I mean, there's one, again, acknowledging the influence that we have in what we're sharing. And when you receive that praise in return, or that positive response,
Yeah.
really feeling into that, letting that feel you, I think is so powerful. And then knowing that our effect, our impact goes beyond what we even imagine.
Yeah, and we have to own it. And so, like, the beautiful comments and the emails and the testimonies, like, they mean a lot. And but it's so weird because, like, it's hard to navigate sometimes. And even though you get all these beautiful messages, and then you're having a great day, then Mercury retrograde hits, and then you're like, what am I doing with my life? Nobody's listening to me, because maybe your numbers are down for the week, or it's whatever it is in your head, if you're paying attention to that stuff, and you're like, man, nobody knows what I'm doing. It's like, man, you got thousands of people who are like being influenced, and how easy we forget. So reminding ourselves is huge for sure. And it's not an ego thing. It's reality for sure.
Yeah, you got to celebrate the wins, man.
Yeah.
It's so key, and I can totally relate. I think sometimes I look at where I'm at right now, and so what I was gonna say is, sometimes I look at where I'm at and look at the numbers and things like that, and you kind of realize that it doesn't feel all that different than when you first begun, right? So I do think, again, that it's important that we acknowledge ourselves for our growth, and whatever that means to you, right? I'm not trying to make this out to just be a numbers thing, right?
Mhm.
Success is whatever you define it as.
Yeah.
But
it's a quality thing too, though. You know what I'm saying? Quality over quantity, that people really get it. Like,
there you go.
People are going to come and go. They're going to give you beautiful messages. They're going to forget about you next week. Like, there's a bunch of people, but when it plants that seed, and then that seed takes root in an individual, and then you can see it, like, those are the best, man. I know you do coaching stuff with people too. And I remember, like, I work with individuals too, and just people in our community, like, encouraging them, and then seeing them, like, go live and do
grow.
like tarot readings on Facebook for the first time. And I'm like, I got an alert that he's live in a group, and there's like, 100 people watching. I'm like, wow, oh God, he finally did it. I encouraged him enough for him to step out and to do it. Like, you celebrate all of that,
That's where the real fulfillment lies, brother.
Yeah.
Seeing the people that we touch grow. I love to see people win. That's the truest source of joy. Seeing joy, feeling joy, witnessing joy in another.
Yep.
So you've been doing the coaching thing too, then?
Yeah. So I mean, I've been doing like one-on-one coachings and stuff, but like, I feel like it only goes so far. And we have a community, and there's only so many hours in a day and stuff. And so, and it's even with so many people in a community, and everybody's like pulling at you, it's kind of hard to really like hone in on like this one person or see who's showing up. Like, I pay attention to all that stuff, but like, I finally had to just find a way to take people through and just impart like everything that I've been through, like everything that we've been talking about so far. It's a process in my head. You talk about like go through the process of awakening and saying yes to the journey and looking at the pitfalls and why you don't need to. And then abundance blocks with money. You shouldn't get paid for this. This should be free, like all of those things. So I've created a course that is pretty much a model of my spiritual journey to get me where I am today, to like take individuals through. And so launching that 3 weeks ago was huge for me. And I've been working on it for 2 years almost, just off and on, and just trying to be over analytical, making sure that like I don't leave anything out, and like there's no reason for you not to succeed if you follow, this protocol and stuff. And so, super excited. We're having a great time, and man, people are being encouraged and equipped and going through those blocks, man. Getting all that stuff out the way, because if you're not experiencing it right now, you're going to experience it later. So to go through this material and stuff that I've been working on, it's just been super amazing. And that other people said yes to that, to work with me and to even see that value and to do a 8-week course with me and stuff. And people want more. So, that was my first launch, and I'm really excited about it. We're having a great time.
Congrats, man. Congrats on the launch. And I'm so sure with the sort of community that I've seen you've amassed, and the types of people that I know are tuning into you and what you're doing. There's definitely going to be people that's going to have an interest in going through that process. I mean, the thing that kind of comes to mind to me is when you embody something, and that's something that other people aspire to, which certainly is the case for you with all that you've been putting out and all the great work that you're doing. That's what ultimately is going to invoke interest in another person. They see that. I always like to say that, look at your own personal transformation and know that your experience was what invoked that. And so if you've come a long way, then that's direct evidence that your process, if you put it together in a process, is something that can support another through a similar transformation. So I'm so glad 100%. To hear that you're doing that.
That's all I can give you. I can't give you anything else. I can't give you anything that I haven't been through or haven't experienced myself. The rest of it's just theory, and that's big on the religion, like arguing about theories and what ifs and all this kind of stuff. It's like, hold on, this is like proven, dude. Because like I did it, you can do it for sure. If it worked for me, the system, the process works if you work it. And so being confident in that is big.
So what would you describe? How would you describe that endpoint to, like, if you had to describe the specific process that you're taking people through now, what is it that they come out of it with?
Really launching healers, man. Launching people to start their own podcasts. I mean, everything that I'm doing. Look at me. I'm creating another version of myself and other people. Doing one-on-one sessions with individuals, creating courses, teaching them how to do guided meditations, teaching them intuitive healing, like teaching them how to go through a session and how to pick up on energy and move energy. And I can't give you nothing else. Like, obviously everybody's going to do it a little bit different, right? Their modalities are different. Maybe they're going to add other things that I don't, and that's perfectly fine. So, but it's like to give you everything I got. So whatever I'm doing is to, like, you'll see them doing it in their own, their own niche and their own impact and their own circle and stuff. So, and that comes through it comes through practical stuff too, podcasting, blogging, making YouTube videos, repurposing content, like all the practical stuff too. We're going through the spiritual stuff for sure, spiritual woo-woo stuff, which is the best fun stuff. But when it comes down to the hard work, like, are you gonna write a blog today? Are you gonna because you can write one blog and get in front of thousands of people, like, hundreds of people who come to your site a day, a week, a month, whatever, off of one blog. So really teaching the individuals how to write a good blog that's going to bring people who resonate with their work and with their ideas and stuff. So really teaching all of it, and I love the back end stuff because I taught myself how to do all of it. So, I can teach it.
Yeah, I think we could relate quite a bit in this regard. What you're describing is very similar to the type of work that I feel called to do, and we approach it with different words maybe, but it's ultimately the
Yeah.
same thing, and it's that the way that I describe it is channeling our purpose
Hmm.
into impact. So
Yeah.
I love to see that bridging of the gap, right?
Yeah.
Bringing all this awareness and growth. I would say it's two sides of the same coin, right? That
Yeah.
inner world of growing in our awareness of self and spiritually evolving and deepening in our into our essence and integrating a higher expression of who and what we are within ourselves, right? And how we get to feel on a daily basis through that. But then
Hmm.
how are we using that or channeling that growth into what we give the world?
Yeah. Yeah, and it's about them just saying yes to whatever it is that they want to do, whatever they feel called to explore, that they're qualified already. Building confidence in them, and knowing that I'm huge with this, but it's not nothing that you're becoming. It's something that you already are, and
Mm,
in the simple fact that you desire it and you want to do it qualifies you, and it's available for you. We have people who are coming in that being trained to be healers, and they're like, this is all brand new, like all like baby stuff, but they're getting trained to step out into intuitive healing. And so like we gotta, when I was working with my coach, he's like, hey man, this is a little bit too much. You just need to help people get over the blocks and stuff and make that other stuff another course. I'm like, yeah, we're gonna deal with the blocks, but I want to cover it all. Like
mm-hmm.
if you don't know how to, I'm gonna train you in it. Like I got to give you everything. And he's like, okay. So I just like above and beyond and did it. And just, it's everything, as far as, mapping out to become a healer. Right. And what is that? Right. Again, the healing comes through my music, comes through my podcast, these
Mm-hmm.
conversations, walking in your truths, removing your blocks, loving your enemies. Like that's healing comes through all that. So, but we champion that inner work that we're going through ourselves and that we're helping other people get through as well. I think that's what makes you a healer.
I love that. I'm glad that you flowed into that because I was gonna ask you, and do tell me if there's more that wants to come through here. What does it mean to be a healer?
Yeah. Yeah, and that's the thing. Like, I try to help people look back over their life and comb through their life and see. Obviously, if you feel drawn to that term to be a healer, the fact that you're not going to become anything, you already are. So maybe even combing back through, for me, conversations. Giving people counsel, helping people solve problems, praying for people, like your heart, like helping the homeless and being empathic, like all of those things are like a good indicator that you already are a
Mm-hmm.
so-called healer. So, but I guess what I would to to be able to do it, um one-on-one sessions and be able to go like longevity with people, doing Reiki energy healing as well, like getting into some of that. But I teach a lot of people that a lot of this healing is just even done through conversation. The spiritual woo-woo stuff for the most part is icing on the cake. If we can sit down and let you come to an understanding of who you are and the greatness that's inside of you, and there's nothing that can hold it back or stop you. Once you understand that, listen, the woo woo stuff is just icing. I
Mm-hmm.
love the woo woo stuff, but it's icing. Like most of the healing is going to come through that conversation of you opening up with the individual who will share things with you on a one-on-one session that they won't even tell their spouse, but you
Mm-hmm.
allow them a safe space to open up and to release that and get it off their chests, and then maybe lead them in breath work or give them some counsel and just be there. But them just confiding in you and confessing those sins and those things that
Mm-hmm.
they've been dealing with, they don't have nobody to tell. They've been carrying those burdens their whole life,
Mm-hmm.
and that's a healer,
That's
helping
what
people do that for sure.
that's where the healing's done.
Hmm.
It's a practice of self-awareness, right? It's bringing it
Yep.
into awareness. So I think what you're describing there, the power in it is people are in those conversations bringing to the forefront things that they may not wanted to look at for some time or haven't been looking at. And the
Yep.
moment you shine the
100.
light of consciousness on it, that's where the healing takes place.
Yeah. And I've seen it in my own life. And again, that's how I know it works. like for me on many different levels, on really deep stuff, and then just like small things that are bothering you, like all of it, the breath work, the meditations, the you know what I'm saying, training your mind, and positive affirmations and meditations, all of it is so powerful.
There's a myriad of different tools that we can use, and it's about using the ones that you feel called to use. But
Yeah.
definitely, I think again, it's a practice of awareness. All those things, what they have in common is bringing to awareness, bringing to the surface some of the stuff, the underlying stuff that you may have kept buried down that you didn't want to look at.
Yeah,
Now,
and it takes a person who's been through it, because you recognize things that those people overlook. They've never faced that before, so.
they haven't done the work,
Mm-hmm.
or perhaps they don't even know that
They don't
this
know
is
that it exists. It's a thing,
yeah.
all of it. So introducing people to bliss, light, and love, but to do it, you got to go through some of the darkness too. So.
That's what awakens in us.
Mm-hmm.
On that note, and you only go as deep as you feel called to. I know from what I've heard from you that you've gone through your fair share of trials and tribulations. How are you open to sharing what rock bottom looked like for you?
Schizophrenia, going crazy, spiritual awakening, and doing it the wrong way on a couple occasions. Early on as a teenager, getting involved with dark entities and making pacts with malevolent entities, and so that was a big no-no. And but it opened me up to where I am today, and it's a huge part of my story. That was scary, but I didn't know it can get any deeper. I was going schizophrenic, and that's what like kind of led me back into the church and stuff. I was 16 when that happened, but 15, 16, and so that was really low, and that's 20 years ago. But want to say around 2012 or something, that whole excommunication out of the church, and you're not, it wasn't formal. It's a ghosting thing. It's people who you talk to every day suddenly give you the cold shoulder. And when it's a whole crowd of people, imagine standing in a group of people and everyone turns their back on you at the same time. And nobody tells you why, or you kind of know, but they didn't tell you goodbye, like feeling that. And then, you know, all of the rejection and stuff, it was pretty low. Like I experienced a pretty crazy darkness that was just like this pendulum of going back and forth with who I am, what is real, what's my future look like, what does my spiritual relationship with Christ look like, you know, and my foundation. And so it was really hard. And it was just as bad as being a 16-year-old who was so-called possessed by demons and all of that schizophrenic stuff. Being double-minded in my mind. I tell people, like, you can say like going back and forth every day or every month, but like every minute, like 3 or 4 times in a minute of what it was madness that I experienced on both of those occasions. And for me, it was both of them were rock bottom, alone by yourself, and nobody knows what you're going through. So trying to get through that, and it wasn't until I said yes, to who I am, and knowing that I'm loved by God and fearfully and wonderfully made, and He's put these desires in me to be into things that maybe others have forgot about, or they call taboo or whatever. And when I finally owned it and said yes, the shift happened, and breakthrough, and it's just owning your darkness, owning your light, like all of it, owning that you're flawed and you got mistakes and you're gonna mess up and you're gonna say this one day and say this the next. Listen, we're learning, man. We're trying to figure this stuff out. So once I finally kind of came to that terms, that was a huge for me, and
What
as a
brought you to
teenager
that?
and about 8 years ago.
What brought you to that? What would you say was the
You
catalyst
like you
for
had to
taking that step?
had to choose one. It was like one or the other, and I wanted both, but I didn't know because I didn't see what the future looked like. So as far as me being a minister and in the church, or a new ager, spiritual guru, shaman, whatever people want to call me, um, I didn't know that I'm me, and I'm free. And so it wasn't until I came to that understanding um, that I was okay with everything. I was okay with people making fun of me. I was okay with, but I wasn't okay with not living in my truth. And that's what kind of caused everything of trying to conform and people please. If you live to please others, if you live for their acceptance, you'll die by their rejection. And I was dying from the rejection of my peers and people in the establishments that I was affiliated with, and they know how to kill off their wounded and not help them. And it was hard, man. It really was. But I'm me being open and honest with that story and the podcast and everything, dude. This helps so many people, and I go through it 1,000 times to be able to guide people through that awakening, because there's other people going through that right now, and they feel like they're alone until they hear me talk about it, until they hear you talk about it. How do you navigate through this? I'm going crazy. My pastor said I have demons. No, that's angels visiting you at night. That's not demon. You know what I'm saying? And trying to navigate through spiritual awakening.
Yeah. It's kind of crazy how many people still feel like they're alone in this.
Yeah.
Until they come across. We've
heard the statement.
So many.
You're not alone.
Mm-hmm.
It's powerful,
It's such an important realization to come to. And again, you're spot on with saying that us being out there, being expressive of our truth is one of the things that can help someone come to that realization. So how can we not?
Yeah. And everything sums up for me. Everything I've done, everything I'm doing, even moving forward, is just to be the person that I needed when I was going through that stuff. So because everybody's a reflection of yourself. So everybody that you meet is an extension of you. So I see myself in those individuals. So it's like, listen, what did you need? Well, I needed a friend. I needed somebody who was available to talk. I needed somebody who wasn't going to judge me. I needed somebody who wasn't going to call me crazy or run away from me. Like, I needed a good podcast to listen to where people were open and honest about whatever it is that they're going through, depression, suicide, like aliens, UFOs, paranormal, whatever. Like, we cover it all. There's nothing that we won't talk about. LGBT, coming out, owning your identity, coming out to your family, all of that stuff. For me, those were things that I wouldn't even have seen myself touching years ago, but I've been like a spokesman for just really just living your authentic life, man. You know what I'm saying? And whatever that is for you.
Yeah. Be the person that you needed. That, bro, it's right there.
That sums it up as being a friend, dude. Just be a friend.
Yeah. The moment that's so key. I think if we simplify it to that, even, right? Because we know what we've been through. We know what we've struggled with, and we know what we had to learn and discover within ourselves to get to where we are today. So if we look back at that and say, like, there are people out there that are going through the same thing. Can I just be what I needed at that time, knowing what I know now?
Yep, because you made it out.
The other thing I want to mention too is where, we've been circling around how impactful and influential speaking your truth can be in terms of the effect that it can have on others. But I also want to make mention of how liberating that is for oneself and how much growth we endure within ourselves, for ourselves, when we make that the practice.
Like, you want to go to new levels, man. This spirituality thing is about it. For a lot of people having experiences and tapping into new realms and stuff, but authenticity and love and honesty is the key. Like that moves that vehicle. You know what I'm saying? The love that does it. And so loving yourself, speaking your truth, and it just unlocks new layers. All of this stuff is veils that you have to pass through. You have to prove yourself, man. Again, going back to what we said, you got to prove that you want it. Because if you don't want it, listen, they got somebody down the road who wants it a little bit more than you. We'll give it to him. We'll give the position to him. But you said yes. You showed up. You signed up for this, and you're here. So, you know, I have all these messages and codes encrypted through my music, man, about the, you know, being selected for this purpose and being open and honest and stuff. And I journaled through my music, dude. Like my music is pretty, you know, it's more articulate than I could be, you know, explaining this stuff. So it was a mode for healing and for other people to, you know, embrace their spirituality and have a spiritual awakening, like even off of the music. You know, music's taken a huge back seat for me over the years, but I still dabble and I'm still working on some stuff. But like most people know me because of the music. You know, the music. So
yeah,
I put all that stuff in there, codes and healing and all kind of stuff
consciously.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, because I mean, you're doing that consciously, but then I think we can both probably appreciate that there's probably even more in it than you even realize.
I just, you know, I've got such a huge library of music, and I'll have my lyrics just coming back to me, and it's like, God, like, what was you like? I feel a lot of it was like, when I go back and listen to it, I don't like to call it channeled, but you get in the zone, you get in that flow state, you know, and when things are flowing, like you can't turn it off and on. You just gotta catch it. You know, when that water's flowing, you gotta hold the cup out and catch it. So I felt like I did that with a lot of that music. And when I go back and listen to it, I still get inspired. You know, it reminds me, you know, of what I've been through. And same thing with the meditations, dude. Like I've been recording meditations, and then I'm like in tears, and I listen to them myself, and I'm like being pulled into it, like I'm like, oh God, if this has happened to me and I'm consciously in this, and so I know that when other people listen to it, you know, they're gonna get swept away. And so when you can listen to your own work, or, you know, those times when you're doing your podcast and, you know, you just, something's on you, man, the spirit's on you, and you're talking to somebody, you know, somebody's listening, you're speaking to it. I'll go back and listen to myself, and I'm just like, I'm talking to myself. I get encouraged listening to myself, you know, and that's to be a co-creator, not to be narcissistic, but be like, listen, like I'm creating what I needed. Like I need healing. I need a meditation that's going to take me in deep and heal me. I'm going to create it. Boom. It's a meditation that takes me in deep and heals me. It's a song that takes my mind and opens it up and takes me on a journey to the astral realms. I'm going to make it. And then I'm able to like experience it myself. It's a weird feeling, but I love it. You know, I love to be able to still get those, I don't know what to call it, you know, because I do feel like it's a channeling in a sense. But
I think channeling is appropriate, man. I 100% think channeling is appropriate.
But I can't tell you what being it comes from. You know, I channeled the Holy Spirit, man, you know, just the beauty and bliss of God. And if that's what I channel, like for sure. And but there's angels that come through, and there's all kind of things too.
Yeah. We can play the game of saying it's, you know, this being or that, or it's this collective.
Star Command or whatever. You
know? Yeah, I mean, but it's all coming from the same place, right? And I think
love.
Well, there you go, bro. There you go.
Love, that's man. If it's coming from love, I want to encounter it. I want to experience it.
And be a conduit for it.
It's so deep that you can keep exploring it, layers and layers and layers and layers. Even when you think you're already healed, you know, and you think you've already over something, you've already let something go, and then you get a burst of energy and bliss that, you know, brings you to tears, you know, because you're able to release stuff that you didn't even know that you were holding on to. You know, that's what we're talking about.
You can always bring it through more.
Yep.
There's always more to allow ourselves.
That's hard to fathom.
Yeah.
You know, especially after beautiful encounters. I've had encounters with God and the spirit where I'm vibrating for days. I'm just like holding back tears when anybody does Like for me, it's about these beautiful encounters with Jesus that I've had. And so if anybody mentions his name around me, like for like 3 days after this encounter, I just start weeping like a baby. And I got to
Mm.
like try to hold straight face. And it was just, we have the, like, can you go deeper than that? It's like, yeah, like it can get more intense and turn it up as much as you want, and, but you're being healed, man. Crying is healthy. Like you got to let go some stuff. So I champion all of it. Everything that has to do, the Bible says that every good and perfect gift comes from above, man. So anything that has to do with healing and you walking in your truth and, I'm for it. I don't care what it is.
If it feels like bliss, here for it. Now I know a big part of what you do is teaching people how to have these sort of experiences. Am I right in saying that?
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. Where do you begin with them?
Meditation is key. Breath work, connecting with God.
You're
with
big on the
source.
breath work, huh?
Yeah,
I actually
for
love
sure.
that. I just about like I would say a month and a half ago or so, I really started getting into it, and oh man, like I mean,
Can't
I
say
want to hear
one
you
without
talk
the
about
other
it.
anymore. Well, I can't say one without the other no more because I've been missing out. Like, cause
As in
I got good
meditation
at
and breath work.
meditation first, of like
Okay.
just being quiet and just going within,
Yeah.
and then I got good at that. But then like adding breath work beforehand to get your body into the trance state so that you can leave your body or just travel within a lot faster, a lot deeper, a lot farther if you just do certain breathing techniques beforehand. And uh, you know,
Okay,
I
so
missed out on that for a
I
long
want to hear
time.
you kind of repeat that because I think there's something potent there. You kind of pointed to what breath work, how it prepares you for a deeper meditation, or
Yes, yeah,
how
helping
would you
like
describe
so.
that?
So I would say at first, one of my biggest things is just focus on the blackness. When I'm by myself, I like to focus. I get everything out of my head, focus on the blackness in front of you, go in deeper and deeper and deeper. Eventually, a light shows up for me, and a lot of people are starting to encounter this too. And I follow that light, but it takes a while. If you do the breath work beforehand, it'll put your body into the trance state, release DMT from your pineal gland that puts you're hacking the dream state is what you're doing. You're going into the dream state. So you're releasing the endorphins and things in your body that's making you release things, that's making you feel good, but it's making you relax and stuff as well. So to start off your meditation with a few minutes of breath work to go ahead and get the body relaxed and quiet the mind before you're trying to just peer through whatever it is you're trying to get through. And there's a bunch of different meditations. And even on the guided meditations that I do, I'll always leave it open after. Like once you're in the trance, once you're having this encounter, like we're going to allow the music to continue to play for you to have your own experience and go where you want to go and experience whatever it is versus ending it as soon as the guided meditation is done. So if it's a recording and you want to stay there an hour, feel free,
So that's the practice, right? You're using it as a tool to prepare you for more. I mean, is astral projection something that you consciously engage with? It seems like that. Yeah. Okay, so I'm gonna have some questions with that, but
So I'll say that, and I talk about it in my music a lot, and I think I give the wrong outlook on it as far as like leaving my body and traveling the multiverse or whatever, and or traveling the neighborhood. I've never left my body and flew through my neighborhood. I've never left my body and looked down at my body. I explain it a little bit like that in music just because of the creativity and aspects of things. But the levels, when you go within, in order to get out, you got to go within. The universe, the kingdom of heaven, the realms, everything is within. You are a portal. So once you're able to go deep within the realms that you're able to access, the Akashic records, your higher self, you are traveling to worlds. But can I tell you the names of those worlds? And it's all heaven. It's all the astral realms. It's all bliss. You connected with your higher self. There's angelic beings. There's levels within you that you travail and go in and unlock things that you release when you open your eyes. And there's so much that happens. But I think a lot of people have the astral projection thing where they think that they're going to actually leave their body and fly around town. That honestly is more remote viewing. If people are doing that, projecting their consciousness outside of their body and able to look around and, whatever they're doing, to go into the center of the earth and stuff like that. Like, I have a lot of people who are big on that. But for me, my sweet spot is going within and that opening up to, we'll call it the Akashic records. We'll call it your higher self or your perfected self. There's a scripture in the Bible that says that, two scriptures that I really love about this. It says, to be absent from the body is to be present with God. I really like that. And there's another one that talks about, what was it? I forgot the other scripture. I had two of them in mind about going within and, experiencing bliss and experience. Okay. It's that we're seated with Christ in heavenly places right now. And
you want to say that again?
Might help
we're seated with Christ in heavenly places.
In heavenly places right now. That there's a version of you, you're an avatar, but your true self is in the heavens at this divine council. We signed up for this earth school or whatever. You've heard it mentioned. This is really big in Greek philosophy, that they think that we're actually out there with the planets, and we are emanations of the planets and the solar system and everything experiencing itself in time on earth. So that scripture in the Bible, that you are seated with Christ in heavenly places even now. A lot of mystics are going into these deep experiences and engaging with what they call their perfected self. And it's what we've been, called the higher self. And it's a version of you that exists that is perfect, and you're connected to it, and then you're engaging with it and bringing it into your timeline and getting, answering questions. And a lot of the information, when you go in really deep, is pretty slippery. Like when you peer your head into what we'll call the Akashic records, it's an information superhighway, faster than, and there's all types of things. There's beings, there's love. There is so much stuff just moving. And I feel like I tell people, if you can grab one thing and you bring it out, it's vision, it's about your future, how to embody it. Like there's so much. If you can pull one thing out of that experience, out of that meditation, when you go in really deep, you're a true shaman. A true shaman is one who's able to go into the dream realm, go into the other worlds, and bring things back and allow it to manifest on this side of reality. And you can do that through the dream state and through biohacking the dream state and consciously create when you get back. That's what I do. But not all the time. There's many different things when we go in. Like for one, it's just to bathe in love. That's I never get tired of that, just to be in that bliss and releasing stress and trauma and releasing, breathing in the beauty of our breath and thankful and gratitude and you name it, man. If people don't know what I'm talking about, you got to get with Bryan or myself for sure and tap in.
Tap into yourself.
Yep.
Yeah.
It's all within. You're fearfully and wonderfully made. The kingdom of heaven is within. You can literally experience eternity by going within.
I totally love the way of describing it as accessing the perfect self. And one of the things that that kind of just really stands out to me about the way that you approach it is that going into to access that insight is simultaneous with the process of integrating that within yourself. So it's going in to find that, to become that. And
yeah, because in order to engage with it, you got to know what it looks like. Like, any version of yourself exists, and most of us have been operating just by default. We're on default. We don't know how we got here. We don't know how we ended up in this job. We don't know how we ended up with this family, these belief systems. This is just us, but we've gotten there by default. But we can consciously create and bring those other visions. First, you got to be able to see it. You got to be able to access the imagination. If you can see it in here, you can create it. You can bring it into your reality.
If you can see it in there, it exists as a reality that we can embody. That's another way I love to think of it. And it goes back to something you said earlier where you mentioned we already are that. It's not what you become, it's who you already are. It's embodying that within your conscious awareness. Though.
You got to choose it. You already are it, but you keep it to yourself and don't tell nobody and don't engage with it. You'll never see it.
You have to be.
But writing it down, introducing yourself as it, you're bringing it into the reality. You're birthing it. Especially with the internet, you can be whatever you want with the internet, man. Like, you can recreate yourself. You could be a healer. You can be a hip hop artist. You can be whatever you want. And
you get to choose.
You get to choose it. Yep. And so choose wisely.
Yeah. And I think this practice, going in and seeing what that perfect self looks like, because with all the noise that's taking place in most people's minds, there's a distortion around. A lot of people don't even know what they want, or they're not consciously aware of what they want. So I think this practice goes a long way to just gain insight into what it is you really want. And that's one and the same with what does that perfect self look like?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, recapturing the dream, the dream that you had when you was a child, and simplicity, love, being, innocence, returning to innocence, recapturing your innocence, and engaging with that you still are, but you just don't know it. You know what I'm saying? Like all that.
Yeah. All right. So I think the perfect way to pull this all together, bring it all together here is I want to hear a little bit more about your practice, your approach. I know we kind of started talking about the breath work a little bit, and you have your experience with these spiritual beautiful encounters, and I know it's something again that you support others in having within themselves. Of course, we start with meditation and breath work, but is there a way that you go about teaching this practice?
Yeah, again, those are the entryways. Always, there's a beautiful scripture in the Psalms that says to enter his presence enter his gates with thanksgiving and enter his courts with praise. So I like to step in with being with gratitude, an attitude of gratitude, again, which is that vehicle. To be thankful for the small things. And then I move out. The two small things I always start with is putting my hand on my heart and feeling my heartbeat, that there's always opportunity, that I have life, and that I have another chance, and I'm here to create, to bless, to experience this life. So I'm always start with the heart, and I'm just kind of giving that thanks back to the Creator, and then the breath. Joining in with the breath. I take a deep breath in. I'm thankful for the breath. With these two intact, I can change tomorrow. I can be a better person. I can still experience the greatness that God, the Creator, has for me. And so I go in with that, and then you engage it. And you may move out to other things. I'm thankful for my family. Think about it. Many times, if I'm by myself, I'll start speaking about it versus leading one. It'll get real personal for me. And those are the best. Like when you can get personal and vocalize it. Thinking about it's one thing, but I begin to vocalize what I'm thankful for. And it moves into another form of prayer, which is something we call prophesying, which is speaking into things as well. Yeah. You're prophesying, you're speaking to your life, your situation, you're breathing life into it. So for me, I move into a place where I'll start prophesying over my podcast, and, so that the intention's there, you're putting the codes into it.
So it's envisioning an intention for.
Yep. And then speaking it, not just seeing it, but speaking it out.
Feeling it too, I bet.
Yeah, and say, people are going to be blessed when they hear my words. That when I speak on certain subjects, is going to break chains that people are chains of addiction. People are depression. When people hear me speak, that depression is going to fall off of them. They're going to want, when they, they're going to want to know more. I just start going into it, the
You're saying
intentions
this
and
out
why
loud?
I started. So go ahead.
You're saying this out loud?
Yeah, I'm saying it out loud. If I'm by myself, I'll
Okay.
start there. But that moves you into this beautiful atmosphere, and so where you can feel the spirit, through the breath, and you're creating, you're blessing. I'll begin to pray for others. Right. A lot of this is good to do before you go in, and this is like strengthening your own prayer time and your personal relationship with the Creator, and then once you're done with all of that kind of stuff, and you don't have to do that, but it's a great practice for sure. Speaking into your destiny, manifestation, all of it. It's one thing to see it, but it's another thing that when the heart and mind join as one and you speak it out and you actually create it as you speak it, the abracadabra verbiage. I create as I speak. And I don't think there's anything in my life that exists that didn't come through that's conscious creation. I'm speaking it into existence, and I'm even putting those intentions and energy into it. So once that's done, then, I usually have music on. Um, from my Christian background, I still listen to a lot of beautiful, like, Christian worship music. And I tell everybody to, there's like a group called Bethel Music. Most of the church don't like them. They call them New Age, but their music is just like super heartfelt. So I'll put a lot of that on, and then kind of go into like a lot of healing tones and frequencies and stuff as well. So going into the breath work, but it's about just tapping in with the Creator. So a lot of times when I go in, I don't have a script. Like I don't have like
You don't know exactly what you're gonna do, right?
I'm gonna go meet with the angels from Zeta Reticuli. I don't have that, but I go in through this relationship with my Father, that I'm loved, and He has great and mighty things in store for me that I do not know and I can't find out. That's the scriptures that say that. The only way to find out is, guess what? To go to go within and to go inquire from Him, from it, the source energy that is, you're connected through your breath. That's how you travel. And so that is my ticket in, through grace and through beauty, to leave any fears at the door. And I literally, God, whatever you have for me, like, I want it, and in that there are ascended beings, there are angels, there are, information superhighways of the Akashic records. Like in that, like, I'm open to experience, and whatever I thought would have been a good encounter, finding stuff that I never. The only way you can get to it is like just being open to explore.
Open.
Yeah. And you take one thing back. I'm loved, and there's nothing you can do. And this is what helped get me through all those hard times, both times, is having that prayer life and communing with Christ in that secret place, and just exploring what He says about me, because I've heard what everybody else said about me. They said I was a failure. They said my best days were behind me. They said that I was deceived. They said all kind of things, but I'm like, I have to, and I start believing those things, bro. I start believing them. What if they're right? And that's what that duality that came in was like, damn, what if they are right? What if you did mess up? What if you did ruin it? What if this, and you start, but I have to go and get in that place of prayer and meditation with my Creator. And He said, no, man, I brought you to this for a reason. I'm imparting things to you that the only way you're going to get that is if you go through it. There's an empathy in you now for people who are marginalized, who people don't care about. Now you have an empathy in you to aggressively go after those people and love them, and to help them guide through. Because people, man, suicide is real, bro. Not everybody makes it out. I got lucky, dude. I got lucky. Not everybody makes it out of that stuff. The mental games and all the. I got lucky, and I owe it to whoever will listen. Whoever's going through that stuff. Not everybody's gonna get it. It ain't for them. Keep moving, keep walking. But for those who get it, they really get it. And for those who have never encountered it, I bid them to come in, try it. Let's do some breath work. Let's tap in through prayer. Tap into the love of God. If you never been in prayer and you can feel it, a physical sensation of the love of God wash over your body. And as it starts at the top of your head and it goes down, it erases all the bad stuff that you've ever done. You could feel that. You need to feel it daily. Just think like you could do it daily. But if you don't know it's real, you're not gonna know how to engage with it. So I want to be able to, bid people to try it out, to do the breath work, do the meditations, know how much you're loved, If you don't know it, you don't know what's available. So for us talking about this and being open and honest about these crazy ideas, people are picking it up.
It's important, man. It's important work. You're doing important work. And honestly, again, a ton of respect and appreciation for all that you're being and doing, my man.
Hey, man, feeling is mutual, dude. And can't wait to have you on my show here in a couple days, couple weeks. I'm not sure. I have to look at the
soon.
schedule.
We're on the calendar.
Yeah, it is. That one is booked.
I think that's next week. So we're going to be at it again.
Yeah. Next Thursday. Yep.
It's always my pleasure to come together with you, brother.
For sure. I love, everything that you're doing, man. And, man, thank you for sharing your platform with me and my message and everything I'm bringing too. So.
Yeah, and well, let me say that this wasn't for you. This is for all the people that get to benefit from hearing you share, and you're included in that. So it's for us all.
100. Now, me talking about this, it stirs me up. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's like, hold on, when's the last time?
That's why you do what you do.
For me, I'm like, when's the last time you let that love wash over you? It's been 3 days, 4 days, a week. You gone a week without letting the love wash over you? Come on, man. So we have these weekly meetings that we do that, like, but it's different. It is different. Like I encourage the sessions, the groups and all that stuff. We do it. We go in together, but you going in by yourself. Mm-hmm. Do it by yourself. There's a different blessing in it for you. There's other things that other people can't go with you where, the things God wants to show you. Other people can't go. You
Both
go
are
by
important.
Yourself.
Both are important.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. All right. On that note, where can anyone listening that feels called to come check you out? These groups that you're describing. I know you mentioned the program earlier as well. Let them have it, man. Invite them in. Yeah.
All of my stuff is at TruthSeekah.com. Truth SEEKAH.com. My podcast, my music. Our weekly hangouts and stuff that we do. Everything's there. You can just dig and dig and dig. A bunch of stuff.
All right, my brother.
Check it out.
I again want to say one last time, I appreciate you. It's always fun coming together and having these conversations. To the listeners, go check out the podcast if you're feeling Truth Seekah's vibe. You can get a lot more of it. And the book.
Yeah, the book. We didn't even mention it. Yeah.
Links to the book is on the website. Do you want to take a moment there to talk about the book quickly? I mean, it doesn't even have to be quickly. Take your time if you want to, man.
Quickly. The book came out a year ago last month. And it's been a huge blessing. And to put this out, Spirit Realm is the name of the book. Angels, Demons, Spirits, and the Sovereignty of God. Was blessed to have Jordan Maxwell write the foreword. And a little bit of everything. All these mystical experiences, how to engage with them, beings that are elementals, angels, spirits, and to show you how they all work together for your good. And even, going back to my story and the bad times that I've had, like I needed those, that was my rite of passage. Made it through. You really wanted it. You fought for it. You now. Made it through. Yeah, for sure.
All right, man.
Pay it forward.
Dude, I'll catch you in about a week.
Yes, sir.
The Ascenders community, on behalf of them, thank you for showing up here. All the great stuff that you're doing and sharing is going to be links to the description, links in the description for all of that. And any parting words?
Hey, man, remember, I want to link my brother here, Richie Breath, a good friend of mine. He sent me the sticker. He always ends his messages and channelings. He says, "Remember to breathe." So let's just all take a deep conscious breath in together. 1, 2, 3. Breathe in through the nostrils. Peace, grace, and release. Remember to breathe, man. That breath, God is just as close as your next breath, and you can explore it and go deeper. That is the highway. That is your ticket in. Do it. Remember to breathe.
Remember to breathe, ascenders. Until next time, keep ascending. Ascenders, that is going to be all from my conversation with my brother, TruthSeekah. I hope it was able to awaken in you some inspiration to begin saying yes to and fully owning your truth. I also hope that the tools, the practices that TruthSeekah shared is something you'll consider giving a shot, because not only till you give it a shot, you put it in practice, could you discover what it might have in store for you. There's a myriad different means by which we can access that higher self, that perfect self within. And these are just a few, but not until you put it to practice will you reap the benefit, the bliss. Will you find within yourself the insight that will support you in your ascension journey, in being a fuller expression of your gifts, of your authentic self, and serving the divine purpose that you came here to serve. So if you've heard this call, not only do I invite you to give these tools a shot, but another invitation I'll put out there once again. Ascend Academy is uniting and activating lightworkers. Our platform is growing, their energy is rising, and it's thanks to the beautiful, beautiful, powerful souls that are coming together in this collaboration, this co-creation, in this space of unity consciousness. If you have an interest in being a part of this, I invite you to go check us out and all that we got going on at academy.togetherweascend.com. Anyways, Ascenders, that is going to be all for this episode of the Awaken podcast. Thank you for being here. Thank you for tuning in. Thank you for all that you are. Thank you for being in the intention of ascending, because as you ascend, we all do. So until next time, keep ascending.